You asked me to figure out where this video was recorded, so I did. Hi, I'm Jose Monkey, and I find people who ask to be found. Guys, when I looked at this video, I was pretty sure it was going to be an easy one to find. But my path to finding this place hit a bunch of dead ends, and it took me a bit longer than I expected. So what can we see? First, this person used a very well-known trick to get my attention, which is they put their dog in the video. Look at that dog. What a good dog. After a brief introduction, this person shows me their surroundings. Like I said, I thought it would be easy because this person is in a parking lot of a shopping mall and we can see many different store names. We've got what looks like a GameStop and a T-Mobile right at the beginning. I thought this might be a famous footwear here, but I wasn't sure. As I turn the camera, we can see that there's a Target here. We also have a mattress firm, and next to that, a Michaels. And as they keep turning, we see that there's a sign for Kohl's, though we can't really see the store. And after that, we see that there's a Starbucks. Then the person turns the camera all the way back to where they started and goes just a bit past where they began. And when they do, we see two more stores. We see that there's a Subway here and also a Fine Wine and Good Spirits, which is by far the biggest clue. Fine Wine and Good Spirits is the name that the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board gives to their state-run liquor stores. So we know right away that this is Pennsylvania. I figured with this many stores in close proximity, it shouldn't be too hard to find them, especially since we know what state it is. But guys, the data mining gods were not smiling on this day. When you have this many locations, it can actually be problematic to try to include all of them in your search. And that's because the more locations you include, the more likely it is that one or more of them will be missing. And if even one of them is missing, then your search suddenly stops matching the place you need. Now we had 8 different stores here, but I knew I didn't need to match all 8. I could probably just pick 2 or 3. So I started trying different combinations of these stores that were close to each other, starting with the ones that were adjacent. So I tried looking for Subways that were very close to GameStops. I also tried looking for T-Mobiles that were close to GameStops. And I tried looking for Targets that were close to GameStops, or T-Mobile, or Subway. And I tried looking for mattress firms that were near Michaels. I tried all kinds of combinations, guys. I didn't want to use Starbucks because I know that there are sometimes Starbucks locations inside of Target locations, and I figured that that might throw things off. Also, I didn't want to use Kohl's because I wasn't sure exactly how far away the store was. We can only see the sign. But guys, no matter what combination I used here, I was not finding this location. And to be clear, I was getting lots of results, and I looked at many wrong locations in Pennsylvania. Eventually, I concluded that one or more of these stores was not in the OpenStreetMap database and that this approach was probably not going to pan out. So I decided to switch things up and use a different approach. Back before I learned how to do fancy data mining, one approach that I liked to use was to take 2 or 3 different stores, get all of the locations where those stores are, and then compare the lists. Once you do that, you can look at the intersection where all of the stores have locations, and look at those as candidate locations. So I went to the websites for Target, Mattress Firm, T-Mobile, and Kohl's and got the list of locations for each. And even though each of those businesses has many locations in Pennsylvania, there are only 24 cities that have all 4 of them. That wasn't too bad, but it still seemed kind of long, so I decided to throw in one more store. I picked Subway, and when I added them to the list, it actually only removed one of the locations, so it was 23 instead of 24. So I was getting diminishing returns at that point. But I figured every place that I could rule out was one fewer place that I would have to check manually. So it couldn't hurt, right? So I started checking all 23 locations, and frankly, I was pretty sure that I had looked at almost all of them already. And when I got through the entire list, I still had not found it. My fancy data mining had failed. My less fancy but fairly reliable approach of doing the intersection of the store locations also failed. But there was still one more approach that I could use. Brute force. So I pulled up the list of all 55 Target locations in Pennsylvania and just started going through the list. And luckily, the correct location was pretty close to the top of the list. You were in this parking lot near Target and several other stores in Dixon City, Pennsylvania. Okay, so you guys know the drill. I used Google Street View to match several of the different views that we got from the video. I also determined that the person was standing right here when they recorded the video. Okay, but what went wrong? Well, a few things. First, as I suspected, we had some gaps in the OpenStreetMap database. That mattress firm that's between the Target and the Michaels is not there. Also, none of the stores in this building were listed in the OpenStreetMap database. No T-Mobile, GameStop, Subway, Fine Wine, and Good Spirits. Or Famous Footwear, which, by the way, it was a Famous Footwear. So I guess I've got some updates to make to the database later. Okay, so that's why my data mining queries were failing. But why did the other approach fail? Well, remember when I added Subway to the mix and one city was removed from the list? The location that was removed was Dixon City. And that's because when you go to the Subway website, they list Dixon City like this, with no space. I didn't notice that, so when I compared the data to the other lists, which all properly included the space, it didn't match. Now the lesson here, of course, is to make sure that you clean your data before you try to do any kind of analytics on it. Otherwise, you might come to all sorts of incorrect conclusions and spend a good portion of your afternoon looking at different stores in the Keystone State. Okay, it's time to check which previous location was closest to this one. And in this case, it's one of my favorite locations. It's Season 1, Episode 17 in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. That's about 37 miles or about 60 kilometers away from this place. But guys, here's the best part. You can almost see this location from that video. I went back and looked at it, and as this person is skydiving and the camera turns all around, at one point we get this view to the northeast. Dixon City would be kind of over here somewhere. So that was kind of fun. That's all for now, guys. If anybody else wants me to find them, record a video where you say, "Find me, Jose Monkey," or something like that on camera, or hold up a sign that says something similar. And don't forget to tag me in a comment on that video.